Alright everyone, we're a little over halfway done with this long series. Thank you for sticking with me, and of course I can't start off without thanking these beautiful people that support me on Patreon. So without further ado, you have my Patreon Dan Robichaud Carew, Tony Stunts, Generic GT, Geezer Windbag, Oleg, Jake Brabick, Carlos DeLuca, Flatlander, and Ped Dispenser. And Andy Yang. Today we'll talk about the BART spur from 12th Street in downtown Oakland all the way to the Richmond station up in the North Bay. Coming out of the Y Tunnel underground, we're here in downtown Oakland at the 12th and 19th Street subway stations. Sure, Oakland's central business district doesn't rival San Francisco's in the slightest, but it's important not to underrate the city's urbanism. The zoning around here is pretty lax since Oakland wants downtown to grow significantly. How so? Well, the area around downtown is zoned so that most blocks have no height limit. That's right, no height limit. BART importantly serves tons of notable employers like the Bay Area News Group, Blue Bottle Coffee, Clorox, Kaiser Permanente, KTVU, PG&E, and Pandora Radio, just to name a distinct few. The work from home movement has enabled developers to look towards building mixed-use spaces with retail, residential, and commercial uses instead of purely commercial towers that have a bunch of offices. The proposed downtown Oakland specific plan wants to focus on these types of mixed-use spaces as city planning departments have started to realize the potential of downtowns as a destination and a living space rather than a series of workplaces and offices. MacArthur here is an important transfer station for BART, probably even more important than Bayfair in terms of the number of lines it serves. That's why the station has 2 island platforms that are ideal for cross-platform transfers between lines. There exists here a pretty dense transit village just steps away from below the above-grade highway platform, with several key developments already either completed or under construction. The key development here is the Skyline at Temescal, which is one of the taller TOD projects that I've probably ever covered on this channel. It's 880 units and 24 stories tall, and around 150 of these units are designated affordable. I really do despise the fact, though, that this station is a highway median, and this isn't really conducive to a walkable neighborhood, let alone one that I would even enjoy walking in the first place. Luckily, Caltrans is very serious about either capping the highway, sending it underground, or just getting rid of it entirely, as this is more of a gash than a bridge between West Oakland and downtown Oakland. According to the proposal, clearing all acres of land that 980 consumes would make way for 5,000 dwelling units, as well as 1.5 million square feet of retail and office space. Seeing all this, I think that keeping Interstate 980 as it is, the status quo, really does a disservice to West Oakland and the Temescal, and prevents the neighborhood from unlocking its full potential. Alright, we're going above grade for just a little bit, descending right before the Ashby Station. I'm not a fan of the 2 park and ride lots adjacent to the station, but there are a lot of TOD plans over here, thankfully. According to the area-specific plan, there are plans to convert these 2 massive parking lots into a 100% designated affordable housing community. In fact, the city aims to have 100% affordable housing up to median income. In fact, the city envisions building this development as high as 7 stories. But get this, construction is already starting across the street. You see this spot right here? This will be the Model Miller Charette community. 87 all affordable apartments, 6 stories tall. Sign me up. I think with developments like these that are already planned or under construction, the Adeline Street corridor will be enhanced by these apartments, in addition to the already existing surface level businesses that are thriving. Fair warning for downtown Berkeley, I admittedly have such a positive bias for here that anything I say is probably going to be devoid of any criticism, so just fair warning for you Berkeley haters. If you want a smaller yet urban town that's super walkable, has tons of bus connections to areas outside of downtown, and has a lot of mixed-use developments, you don't need to look further from here. Sure, this might be a college town, and this may heavily incentivize density and walkability, and, there might be a population of people without cars. I'll still give it props because that's kind of the point, and that's what all city centers should feel like at the end of the day. So you have the Anchor House, which is university housing for Cal students that will accommodate over 700 students, addressing a very urgent need for student housing at a campus with 32,000 of them. Outside of that, there are 6 buildings, well over 16 stories, that are proposed in this downtown area. Look at them, they're amazing. How could you not want this in your own city? Also, the food scene here is pretty phenomenal. You can walk past like 5 restaurants and I guarantee you they will be different types of cuisines. I mean, the sheer amount of attractions, whether they be bars, pool halls, cafes, I mean, what more can you ask for? So contrast downtown Berkeley with this, and you'll see why the Bay Area is so split on land use. You have about 340 square feet of what's basically a giant parking lot with a station head house in the middle of it poking out. As of now, there's really a large disconnect between the station and its community. It's surrounded by single-family housing, and this parking lot actually disrupts the flow of the Ohlone Greenway Trail. The city of Berkeley knows too well that this area must change for the better, as it's one of the worst land uses around a BART station we've seen so far, and that's saying a lot. The preliminary plan basically calls for developing about 5.5 acres of former parking lot land into mixed-use housing of some sort, but check these plans out. We could see construction start on 750 units as early as 2025. These renderings are simply gorgeous. We'll have to wait and see what happens with this lot, but I just can't wait for North Berkeley to actually turn into something useful. Here at El Cerrito Plaza, we're going above ground once more in the city of El Cerrito, a pretty suburban community characterized by a big hill in the middle of it, because Cerrito means hill in Spanish. Whoa. A majority of the city is comprised of single-family housing, so it's no surprise that a generic strip mall occupies land south of the station. As for the station's future, there was actually a meeting as recently as January of 2024, and I actually found very cool renderings of the 6.5 acre site with only about 53% of units priced at a market rate. The total plan for the area calls for about 743 units of housing, and so far only one parcel of this plan has been officially approved as of the making of this video. Not bad for El Cerrito, but maybe it's time to address that strip mall south of your station. The El Cerrito del Norte station has a lot more development around the area, like the Mayfair Station apartments, which are 6 stories. The Del Norte place is an older but appreciated development with ground level businesses, which I will always be a fan of. Across the street from that, though, you have a car dealership.
Brother,
There are no direct plans for further developments that I could see just yet, but the San Pablo area plan calls for general improvements to zoning around the city's 2 BART stations, which is a hell of an improvement over the parking lot heavy status quo. It's important to note that Richmond is an intermodal station. It is the premier Amtrak BART connection because you can take multiple services like the Capitol Corridor, California Zephyr, and the San Joaquin's lines. The short underground lobby takes you to the Amtrak platform conveniently located right across from the BART platform. On the station's west, let's look at the Nevin Plaza developments, where you'll find a pedestrian plaza starting from the station's gates, leading you to a very dense townhome development with 230 units. The park on Metro Parkway is fantastic, and it's a great addition to Richmond's transit village. While the station's west is pretty well developed, all things considered, the station's east is either occupied by a park and ride lot or a grassy field. Phase 2 of the transit village addresses this and calls for 427 housing units across these empty lots, with parking for transit commuters as well as future residents. Further east of the station is a developing downtown core, which is transforming from a bunch of single-use commercial properties with parking lots to dense developments like the terraces at Nevin, but I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Richmond has a lot of work ahead of it, as seen by the prevalent empty lots and parking in its downtown, and I wish this city the best of luck. So that about covers all BART spurs except for one, from Oakland to Antioch, which I'll talk about in the next video. You'll get to hear me rant about eBART, which I am super excited because I have so many thoughts about that. Also, a big shout out to Zephyr Silver for getting me a lot of the North Bay footage, especially around North Berkeley and El Cerrito. That was super helpful and I appreciate that a lot. Thank you so much if you've made it this far, and I'll see you next time.